this kind of sound like the 80s? Hello and welcome back, G-Man in the Studio Lab. I will be doing a series of user reviews on DIY Eurorack modules by the maker feedback. In future videos I will be covering their static and CP3- modules. Today I'm looking at the DIY Squeeze. I will be giving some thoughts about the build, demo some sounds, and include a big breakbeat in the style of Future Sound of London. You don't want to miss that one. I won't digress into what audio compression is. There are many videos out there to fill you in. Check out those first and come right back. What is Squeeze? Squeeze is a simple audio compressor driven by a That Corp Blackmer VCA chip. Yes, the company is called That, T-H-A-T. That has been making high-quality analog audio chips for some time now. Squeeze is a much more simple affair. There's no threshold, attack, decay, or settings for the knee response, just an input control, a mount knob, and makeup gain. So functionally it is more similar to an old school LA2A. Set a couple of knobs and just walk away. However, Squeeze isn't necessarily a clone of anything specific as far as I know. And it is extremely affordable, being available as a surface mount kit for DIY. How difficult is the surface mount version to build? What are some pitfalls of this build? How does it sound? If you don't want to get into the details of building modules, you can buy the assembled version very affordably. Just refer to my timestamps in the description and skip ahead past the module assembly. Let's jump in. In this part, I will share my thoughts about throwing this dude together. There are different versions of this kit. I built Kit 3, surface mount version having the unpopulated PCB. My kit also came with a That chip, two very small matched transistor pairs, jacks, potentiometers, and knobs. That was about 33 euros, which is around 39 US dollars. The cost of the parts from Mouser is hard to pinpoint since I order for many projects at the same time. But I'd say all in I'm probably around 50 bucks total. I'm seasoned at surface mount builds, as you know. This was about as difficult to build as a DIY mutable instrument project, so it's not for beginners. For building my own modules, I have stencils made, but for building a one-off module such as this, I decided to try a different approach. I picked up a solder paste dispensing tool. It's a DPM-A from JPC Tool. It comes with 2 barrels, 2 pistons, and 2 barrel caps. It doesn't come with any needles, so I ordered the optional needle variety size pack. The 0603 components specified by the BOM are extremely small. However, I was able to use 0805 size with no problems. You can download all the required build documentation from the feedback website. The build guide was very well written, and that made the build go very quickly for me. Most difficult parts of the build were the That chip and the matched transistor pairs. They are very small and very fine-pitched legs that form solder bridges very easily. Just touch them quickly with your iron and your solder wick braid. It should pull the bridges right out without damaging the components. Once you're done building the module, there is no calibration procedure for this one. Yay! There is a back panel shield that is meant to protect the components from accidental contact. Alas, if you plug in and find any issues with performance of the module, the shield makes it virtually impossible to probe the components for troubleshooting. You can still do some troubleshooting without the oscilloscope tracing method. Just simply remove the shield. I found test points around the board to help with continuity checking methods using a digital voltmeter. Well, let's rack up the module and get on to the audio examples. And now for a drum machine example. I'm running the Drumbrute Impact into the Happy Nerding Effects Aid, and I've got some reverb dialed up there, and into the Squeeze compressor. Make your snares snappier and your kicks fuller with parallel compression. This is a trick where we simply mix the dry signal with the compression signal. How it works is a much deeper subject delving into sound engineering. I won't go into that. I'll use the Drumbrute example from before. Instead, I'll run the effects aid reverb output to a buffered multiple. One of these buffered signals goes into a mixer. The other buffered signal goes into the squeeze, then out to the mixer. Does this kind of sound like the 80s? For the Arpeggio example, I'll use my 101 VCO, set on sawtooth and sub-oscillator. Going to the 101 VCF, then to effects aid reverb. Getting compression from squeeze. Using compression can help disparate mix elements coalesce into a more uniform whole. I won't go into the details about this mix that I set up. There's just too much going on. But first you'll hear the mix without the compression. Then through the magic of YouTube, you'll hear the mix going through the compressor. Alright, this is the one you've been waiting for. Now let's make a future sound of London beat. I don't know how they did it, but this one will be my way. First we'll take the typical almond break. It's the one that comes with the sample drum factory pack. I'll tune the sample down to B3. Run that through a filter. My XAVCF sounds nice. Then to the effects aid for reverb. The reverb will go to the squeeze compressor, and finally the compressor out will go to a VCA. Let's add some additional groove to this drum loop. I'm going to use an envelope to achieve that. I'll send a rhythmic pattern from KeyStep Pro to trigger the envelope. The envelope will control both the filter and the VCA as well. Here's what the drum loop sounds by itself. Filter turned up all the way with no reverb or compression. You hear the envelope turn the filter cutoff down a bit. Now I'll introduce some reverb. And now for the compression. At first I found myself thinking a bypass switch might have been nice, but the controls are so simple it's easy to suss out the audio levels without any need for a switch. Since it's only 4 HP, you can always find a place in your rack to squeeze in a couple of these units. In summary, if you're looking for an affordable, transparent DIY audio compressor, you really can't go wrong with the Squeeze. Surface mount construction isn't for everyone. You can still get these fully assembled for a little more than it takes to build one. But where's the fun in that? And it just sounds so good. Transients are nice and splashy, but the overall sound is mostly transparent. So that's where you gotta ask yourself what you're going for. If you want that pulsing, pumping compression in your face sound, this is probably not the one for you. But if you want a no-nonsense, transparent compression to punch up your transients and smooth out your dynamics, the Squeeze has you covered. Want stereo compression? These are so affordable you can grab 2 of these. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.